I was counting down to a major win for XRP this month, then Washington, D.C. pulled the rug on all of us. But instead of panicking, I actually stumbled onto something that left me even more bullish on XRP. Now, it was supposed to be a groundbreaking October for XRP. Just imagine, right? After years of anticipation, an XRP exchange-traded fund, ETF, was finally on the horizon. And as someone who's held XRP since early 2020, I was practically on the edge of my seat. I'd weathered all of the storms, the crazy price swings, the big SEC lawsuit, you name it. Now, an ETF approval could have been the moment that XRP went full mainstream. But just when it kind of felt like we were at the finish line, everything came to a screeching halt. Why? Because the US government decided to hit snooze, or at least the snooze button, on itself. Yes, a government shutdown. And that meant that the SEC, the very people who needed to greenlight the ETF, were mostly off the clock. Now, according to reports, the SEC temporarily halted all of its standard approval processes, including crypto ETFs, during this shutdown. Now, in plain English, unless there's some kind of dire emergency, the SEC is not approving any new ETFs until Washington gets its act together. Now, hearing this, my first reaction was a bit of a mix of frustration and you've got to be kidding me, right? It kind of felt like training for a marathon for 5 years, only for the race to be postponed on the day of. And I know that I'm not alone here, right? If you're an XRP holder or just a crypto fan, you probably felt that punch in the gut too. Now, the shutdown put every crypto ETF on pause, not just XRP, but also things like Litecoin and Solana ETFs that were expected to be around now as well, right? Suddenly, all of that momentum frozen. No shiny new investment vehicles, no influx of institutional money, at least not yet. I even saw that the SEC let a final deadline for a Litecoin ETF slip by on October 2nd without a single peep. That was a kind of big red flag for me, right? If they can miss that, well, you better believe that any XRP ETF decision is also pushed to the back burner. Now, all of the specific October deadlines that we were all watching for XRP ETFs have basically become meaningless dates on a calendar, right? It's kind of like the rulebook has now changed overnight and said, we'll kind of get to it when we actually get to it. Now, in fact, the SEC introduced even a new framework just last month and told exchanges to withdraw and refile their proposals under this updated standards, effectively wiping out all of the old timelines. Great timing, right? So now, with the shutdown, there's no pressure on them at all. Now, this turned into one giant waiting game for everyone, us retail investors and even the big institutions. We are now all stuck twiddling our thumbs. Now, here is the thing. I could have let this news ruin my day or my whole entire month. I mean, 2025 was supposed to be the different for XRP, right? After finally getting clarity in the courtroom battles confirming XRP is not a security, many of us thought that the path was now clear. An ETF proposal was going to, at least approval I should say, is going to be like the cherry on the very top of this long-awaited sundae, right? But instead we got a big not now, maybe later. It's almost comedic at this point. You can't even make this stuff up. XRP's journey always has another plot twist. But I am nothing but stubbornly optimistic about XRP. Despite all of this setback, I didn't hit the sell button. Heck no. Right? I've actually held on since early 2020 through the thick and the thin. Right? I remember when I first bought XRP. It was around the time that everyone was talking about making a quick buck on altcoins, right? I grabbed up some SUI, some 𝗗𝗶𝘀, some Link, some ADA, and other coins too over the years. I'm a bit of a crypto junkie, I guess, I admit it, right? But XRP was different. XRP was my long-term bet, my someday this could change the game kind of coin. So when the ETF delay news hit, I took a deep breath and thought, okay, so what now? And if there's one thing that I've learned in crypto, it's that there's always another angle here, another opportunity, often where you kind of least expect it. So instead of wallowing in all this sadness, I actually went into a bit of a problem-solving mode. Okay, so we have no ETF yet, that's fine. How else can I capitalize on XRP in the meantime? First off, I did consider just doing some more of what I kind of know, trading. Maybe try to grow my XRP stack while prices were relatively low. I hopped onto Bitget for a little bit. By the way, I should mention that Bitget is a platform that I use, and there is an affiliate link in the description that supports the channel if you are curious. Anyway, it's great for trading altcoins, and every little bit of support helps, right? So thank you if you do go ahead and sign up and trade using the link in the description. But I'll be honest, I'm not exactly a pro day trader, right? I know what I'm doing, I dabble a bit, I have a few trades open here and there, but I'm not pro by any stretch of the imagination. So watching charts all day, trying to scalp for profits, that's a kind of young person's game. It's not really my kind of game, or at least not mine kind of forte. So after a couple of adrenaline-fueled trades on Bitget, affiliate link in the description, thanks by the way, I realized that I needed more kind of sustainable and less heart attack inducing kind of strategies. So I switched gears, and instead of chasing short-term moves, I started exploring ways to earn crypto more passively. And that is when I stumbled onto something really interesting, a community project called Unity. Now, if you haven't heard of Unity nodes, it's basically a project that turns everyday devices, like your smartphone, for example, into part of a crypto network. So think of it as a kind of way to use spare technology to support blockchain operations and get rewarded for it. Now, in other words, it lets people like you and me run nodes on our phones and actually earn crypto in the process. And in this particular case, even XRP as a reward. Now, the idea immediately caught my attention, right? For one, it sounded like something that I could do without actually babysitting a trading screen, if you know what I mean, right? And two, it was XRP related, right? It fits perfectly into my goal of stacking more XRP. Now, the concept is pretty cool. Rather than needing expensive mining rigs or fancy staking setups, Unity aims to let normal people contribute with devices that they already have. It's like a sharing economy meets crypto mining, community-driven, accessible, and kind of fun. Now, people are talking about it, and I can see why. It promises crypto rewards for helping secure the network, or more specifically, for validating how strong the mobile networks are. And it's not just limited to XRP, but of course, in the fact that you can get a payout in XRP was the selling point for me. Now, before you think I've lost it and I've started building some kind of sci-fi contraption in my basement, let me explain how I decided to get involved here. Now, Unity nodes offer something like an NFT license that basically gives you the right to connect a certain number of devices, phones for instance, to their network. Now, I went ahead and I did actually go ahead and buy one of these Unity Node NFTs that came with 200 licenses. Yes, you heard that right. In theory, I could hook up 200 phones or devices as nodes and basically do some work. Now, do I have 200 phones lying around? Of course I don't, right? Not yet anyway, but I do have a plan. Now, my plan is to start small and to scale up. Right, as soon as the Unity Node mobile app goes live, I'm going to run an experiment. I'm going to set up 10 smartphone devices on here on my desk. You can see I've got this kind of all kind of ready to go, right? I think of it like a bit of a test batch, if you will. Now, these could be old Android phones that I have in a drawer, maybe a couple of cheap second-hand phones that I picked up off of eBay. I'm going to install the Unity app on them. I'm going to link them to my licenses, and I'm going to let them do their thing. And if all goes well, those 10 little kind of soldiers will be churning away, verifying whatever tasks they get sent and whatever the network needs, and going to earn me XRP in the process. That is passive income paid in XRP, and that is the dream right here, right? And if it works as planned, well, you can guess the next step. I'm going to scale that sucker right up. 20 phones, 50 phones, maybe even eventually up to 200 licenses that I have. This won't actually cut that. This is just for 10 devices. I'll have to get creative about how I do the setup. Now I'm envisioning a whole desk or maybe even a shelf of devices lined up behind me, right? My own little mini crypto farm, but without the insane power usage of Bitcoin mining or the need to manage complex hardware, right? I'll just be having a bunch of, I guess, Tamagotchis, except instead of feeding them, I'll just feed, they'll actually feed me, XRP. How cool would that be? Okay, I get it. I know it sounds a bit crazy, right? My friends already joke that I'm building some kind of robot army or something, but this is how I see it, right? While the kind of bureaucrats are sorting things out with all of their ETF dramas, I'm taking matters into my own hands, literally my own desktop, right? And I'm not just going to be sitting around waiting. I'm finding another way to grow my stack in crypto, the way that the crypto that I believe in, I should say, right? And the best part is that it's kind of fun and rather experimental. Now I'm learning as I go here. And even if it doesn't make me a millionaire overnight, which it probably won't, by the way, check out the link in the description. You can see their rewards calculator. I won't be a millionaire off of 200 phones. It could become a new 9 to 5. That's something that I have considered. Anyway, it's a step forward, and it's me just taking an initiative here in a totally nerdy way, of course, rather than just being reactive all the time. Now, of course, this is the point where I should probably be really clear about something. So here's the little reality check for all of us that are watching, right? Because this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, so with all of that out of the way, let's get back to the story, right? So here I am, feeling kind of excited again, despite the ETF delays. Now I've got this Unity node project cooking, on my side, which is something that I probably wouldn't actually have explored if it wasn't for all of this kind of stuff going on in the US and the ETFs, had actually launched maybe a little bit more smoothly. It's funny how things work out. Sometimes the door closes and you find a window open that you just didn't notice before. I also started sharing this whole plan with the community. In fact, I was kind of ranting about the XRP ETF delays and kind of brainstorming ideas like Unity in our free educational Discord server. The link for that is in the description. And by the way, if you want to join a whole bunch of us discussing these things, then check it out. Now, to my surprise, a whole bunch of people there were already aware of Unity and doing rather similar things. I saw one guy building an insane setup for hundreds and hundreds of devices. Some were considering running their own phone farms, maybe on a slightly smaller scale. Others were looking at different passive income projects. It's pretty awesome feeling when you kind of realize that you're not the only one trying out all of these different kind of beaten path strategies, or off the beaten path strategies, I should say. And that is why I love the crypto community, right? Especially the XRP community, right? We are a resourceful bunch. Now, let's go ahead and zoom out for a second. Right? Am I still bummed that the XRP ETFs are delayed? Sure, a little, right? Who wouldn't want that legitimacy and influx of capital sooner rather than later? An ETF would likely bring a lot of new investors who would have been sitting on the sidelines. It could push XRP's price and profile to new heights. But here is the silver lining. The fundamentals of XRP, they haven't changed one bit. Delay or no delay, XRP is still doing what it's always aimed to do, being a fast, efficient bridge currency with a growing ecosystem. In fact, other developments continue even while the SEC is on pause. We've got progress on the XRP ledger, like the sidechains and the new partnerships, and vibrant activity in projects surrounding XRP. Unity is just one example of a community-driven initiative that's bubbling up regardless of Washington's antics. And speaking of innovation, I want to circle back to those other cryptos that I mentioned earlier, right? You might be wondering, why not focus on SUI or 𝗗𝗶𝘀 or something else right now? Well, don't get me wrong, I follow those projects too, and each have their own pretty cool things going on. I mean, if you haven't checked out the Cheeky Crypto news channel, the link is in the description below, and I cover a lot of these projects daily. Anyway, 𝗗𝗶𝘀 has its enterprise angle, ADA and SUI are pushing for their own boundaries too, and Link is doing its Oracle thing at scale, right? But here's the kind of thing. In my experience, it pays to have conviction. XRP is the one that I have the most conviction in. Right, I've seen it survive so many attempts to knock it down. Whether it was the lawsuits or delays, XRP just keeps on going. And so do the developers and the holders behind it. That resilience is what I'm kind of betting on. Right? The ETF delay is just another chapter in the story. It is not the end of the book. So where does it leave us now? Well, honestly, it kind of leaves us in a rather familiar place, doesn't it? We're just waiting and we're building. Right? We wait for the political kind of theatre to resolve so that the SEC can get back to business and hopefully approve those crypto ETFs. Who knows? Maybe when the government reopens and the SEC is back, we'll get a flood of approvals all at once. There's speculation that once things kind of are rolling again, the SEC could trigger a wave of spot ETF launches, XRP included. Now, a lot of people think that the SEC has been prepping in the background, so when they're allowed, they might just hit the go on a whole bunch of them nearly simultaneously. That would be a pretty wild thing. Imagine multiple crypto ETFs launching back to back. It could feel a bit like a crypto Christmas morning after a long, long wait. In the meantime, I'm going to keep executing my plan here. I'm going to keep stacking when I can. I'm going to use Blowfin or Bitget occasionally for that. And, full transparency, there's more affiliate links in the description for exchanges that I do trust and use myself. And they do, of course, all support the channel. So yes, if you do sign up and trade through them, then of course we are going to get a small kickback from the exchange at no extra cost from yourselves. Now, I'm going to keep running my Unity node experiment that we have over here to see, just how much XRP, a handful of these phones can actually earn in a single day or even a week. And I'm going to keep connecting with the community on Discord to swap ideas and to keep each other motivated. But because mainly and honestly, it's kind of how you stay sane in this wild crypto world. You find your tribe and, well, you just keep looking forward. Now, if you've watched this far, here's what I want you to take away. Setbacks are temporary, but your strategy is what carries you through. The XRP ETF got delayed. Okay, so we should adjust. Right, we find other ways to meet our goals. Maybe it's experimenting with nodes like I am. Maybe it's something else like staking, or maybe it's simply using this time to learn and to be ready. In my case, this little detour actually taught me something valuable, that the crypto journey isn't just about one big event like an ETF, magically making everything better. It's actually about the constant discoveries of new opportunities and the growth that comes with adapting to change. Now, I started this video feeling a little bit disappointed by the government shutdown, and I'm ending it feeling a little energized by what I discovered because of that delay. Life's funny that way, isn't it, right? One door closes and another one opens, sometimes onto something you never would have looked at for, otherwise, right? Now, in my quest to grow my XRP holdings, I found a whole new project and a new community to get involved in. And regardless of what happens with the ETF or when, it actually happens, I know that I'm better off for taking initiatives instead of just feeling a bit defeated. So, to all of my fellow XRP believers and even those skeptics who just enjoy a good old story, hang in there, right? Because the road might be longer than we actually hoped, but that doesn't mean that we're not moving, right? Keep your eyes open for those little windows of opportunity. Stay engaged with the community and don't lose sight of why you invested in the first place. For me, it's about more than just the dollar signs. It's about being a part of something that's quietly transforming finance, just bit by bit. So if you found this little adventure helpful or inspiring, then be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more personal crypto stories and updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.